All right, Pasha Pyro, YN7. Thank you for tuning. The replay. So, go back. You got to go back, right? You got to go back and you got to check the video from like a day or two ago. We were just talking about discrimination, right? We were just breaking down what discrimination is. For those who got the third eye on open, right? We just did the video. So let's hop over here to this. Right? So, remember what all that video built up to was to say, it was like saying, is democracy reverse discrimination? You see what I'm saying? So, for those who are unfamiliar, with the term reverse democracy, here it is on the screen. Here. All right. So, reverse democracy, reverse discrimination. So, reverse discrimination is a term for discrimination against members of a dominant or majority group. So, go back and dissect, dive into, swim through the last video we did. See how we broke down the term majority and find out what the real difference between majority and minority groups are. All right? Because that could be misleading if you go with what you think you know. All right? For some people. So, reverse discrimination is a term for discrimination against members of a dominant or majority group in favor of members of a minority or historically disadvantaged group. And then they say groups may be defined in terms of ethnicity, gender, identity, nationality, race, religion, sex, and sexual or sexual orientation. So what this is actually, looking at the vibrations of is like, if being American is the majority, right? That's the majority. And discriminate is to separate, isolate, you know what I mean? To separate from, right? So the reverse discrimination is like, now if you had an entity that wasn't American by definition, let's just say, for example, for entertainment purposes, let's say there's a difference between the terms American and U.S. citizen. Let's just say there's a difference, right? For a moment, for the story. So what that means is that if American is the nationality and U.S. citizen is not a nationality, then that would mean that the U.S. citizens could feel discriminated against by the Americans. So they would work this magic called reverse discrimination. And mentally, when we first hear that, you feel like it's a separation, right? Discrimination is a separation of, and that makes sense. But it's easily looked at wrong because it's not. In this case, like let's go back to the definition. So reverse discrimination is a term for discrimination against, right, members of a dominant or majority group. So if you're American and that's your country, that's your nationality, that's your nation, you are a member of a dominant or majority group. Now, in favor of members of a minority or historically disadvantaged group. So what can be said about ethnicities, gender identities, nationalities that claim that are in America that claim a nationality beyond American, right? Race, whatever that means to you, because it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing in law. But legally, lawfully, race, religion, sexual orientation, or sex. So these groups, right? But maybe we need to go through, maybe I'll make some future videos breaking down each one of these groups, and we'll look at the etymology of those words and see how they tie into this, because it's like a mirror. It's like a mirror where when we look at the mirror, we see a reflection, which means that what we're looking at is backwards, but we feel like it's straightforward because that's what we were told for so long by so many different people that either did know the truth and was just trying to manipulate many of us, or didn't know the truth and just was saying what they was told. All right. But look at this. So what that is basically, what this equation is saying is members of a minority or historically disadvantaged groups are the different ethnicity. And I know I'm saying that wrong, but fuck it. Look, you see the word on the screen, right? Y'all know half my face didn't work for a year. So fuck it. I'm saying it. We talking about this shit. Type it out. Whatever. But look at this. Now, this is magical because members of a minority or historically disadvantaged group. So guess what? Groups may be identified in terms of ethnicity. So guess what that means? If you're claiming, look at this definition. If you're claiming any ethnicity, you are not a part of the dominant or majority group. By definition, look at the equation. This is why I push etymology for the community, so we can understand these things. This is where you get the term from, hidden in plain sight. It's hidden in plain sight. Look at this. So if you claim an ethnicity, that means because it's against reverse discrimination is against members of the dominant or majority group, which is the Americans. We the people. So if you claim any other ethnicity, you are not a member. If you claim any ethnicity, because it can be defined in terms of that, then that means that you are not part of the American or the members of the dominant or majority group. Everybody can sign up for whatever they want to in life. This is called free will. However, if you claim an ethnicity, does that mean then by definition you're not a member of the dominant or majority group, and the dominant and majority group are the Americans in America? So if you have gender identity issues, I'm not saying issues in positive or negative. I'm unsubscribed, but what I'm getting is to that confusion. I'm just saying, right? I'm Pasha. So if you claim a gender identity, then you are not. And I guess, because it doesn't say gender, right? It's saying gender identity, because that's like, you are. We'll dive into it, but I'm looking at this math here. Work with me. Let me know what you think in the comments for those who know, right? Gender identity claims mean that you're a member of a minority or historically disadvantaged group, meaning you're not part of the dominant or majority group, which translates to being American in America. So any nationality claim that's not American in America is a minority or historically disadvantaged group. So I mean, you got U.S. citizen, you got American. Is that which one is the nationality? Race, same thing. Religion, not touching that one, because what is America, right? It's not even to say that America has a religion. Like, America didn't say you're required to, you just had to be born here. That was all you had to do, right? So if you subscribe to a religion, then by law, right, that could be putting, by law of definition, that could be placing you in a group that's been looked at as a minority or historically disadvantaged group, not part, separate from, discriminate of America. So let's get into this California situation, right? California bans state travel to Florida and 4 other states. Let's look at this. So California adds 5 more states, including Florida, to the list of places where state-funded travel is banned because of laws that discriminate against members of the LGBTQ community. The state attorney general announced Monday. Democratic Attorney General Rob Bonta added Florida, Arkansas, Montana, North Dakota, and West Virginia to the list that now has 17 states total where state employees travel is forbidden except under limited circumstances. Now, Bonta, whoever Bonta is this Bonta? All right, California Attorney General Rob Bonta, that's him, right? That's the guy with the bear on the flag, California, the U.S. flag there. You know what I'm saying? The United States flag there, and California Republic. Key words. So, state employee travel is forbidden except under limited circumstances. So Bonta says, make no mistake, we're in the midst of an unprecedented wave of bigotry and discrimination in this country, and the state of California is not going to support it. Right? So, lawmakers in 2016 banned non-essential travel to states with laws that discriminate against lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. So the 12 other states on the list are Texas, Alabama, Idaho, Iowa, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Right? So the 5 states newly added to the list have introduced bills to their legislature in this last year that prevent transgender women and girls, as they're saying in the article, to or from participating in school sports consistent with their gender identity. Didn't say with their gender, but with their gender identity. Like, that's the term, you know what I mean? Because that term means that you are what? You're not a member of the dominant or majority group. It's like if you create a brand. You see what I'm saying? Let me break for a second. If you create a brand, right? And your brand people can sign up for your brand. It's almost like a franchise. You see what I'm saying? Like you can franchise gender identity. That's the franchise, gender identity. You see what I'm saying? All right, let's get back into it. So, North Dakota signed into law a bill allowing certain publicly funded student organizations to restrict LGBTQ students from joining without losing funding. Right? Arkansas passed the first law in the nation to prohibit physicians from providing gender-affirming health care to transgender minors, regardless of the wishes of parents or whether physicians deems such care to be medically necessary. Now this, what I'm not, you know, I do what I do. I like women, right? I'm unsubscribed. This is all this is for your entertainment purposes. All right. So I'm into magic and shit like that. But let's check this out, right? So when I read this, I'm gonna tell you what my first thought was. Cause you know how like insurance get, right? So when you got like insurance on your car or something, you know, it made me think of like the warranty on your car. And like, you know how like if you buy a car brand new and you do certain modifications to it, it could void the warranty, right? So I was just wondering if this, you know, this is messy, but what was their logic? Like, did you not want to work on it did you not want to work on the body? Are you trying to protect the physicians? Because, you know, some of these operations ain't really necessarily done by the best of surgeons. And like, are you trying to reduce the risk, your liability in case you go in there and something messes up? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you trying to say that the warranty on the body is void? I don't know. But let's continue with the situation here, because Arkansas said you can't, you know, healthcare stuff is on the table for them. And what do you guys think about this stuff? I'm just presenting this. I'm just looking at it from an even different level of an equation, how it's showing me what I'm seeing is you know, this discrimination factor, and how what I thought discrimination was may not actually be what it is. Like what I thought it was 10 years ago, I see differently now how really what discrimination is, what reverse discrimination is doing is taking America apart. You see what I'm saying? So they create I see how the existence of the focus on discrimination causes a need for equal opposite. So you're going to have reverse discrimination, and through reverse discrimination, you can dismantle an entire nation. Let's get back to this. So state law, or no, we up here. These lawmakers, listen to this. This is where it gets like, these lawmakers would rather, let me get the voice for you. Let me get the voice. These lawmakers would rather demonize trans youth than focus on solving real issues like tackling gun violence, beating back this pandemic, and rebuilding our economy. So, is that not a smear campaign? Now you want to, you know, gun violence. What is, you know what I mean? That's crazy. That's another term they got people emotionally attached to, right? And they're trying to slide, you know, pull something over. First of all, this is the question I got, right? You know, matter of fact, go back to the warranty. I mean, what is this setting each other up for? Because when we know they want to come out with cyborg bodies that you can put your conscience in, and then you'll never have to worry about getting old because you can just take your conscience out. Those that have access, whether it's the luxury of funds or know the right people or whatever the buy-in for that community will be, right? You'll be able to take your conscience they're working on and put it into an entirely new body and keep on living, right? So my question is, when they put a chip in us, you know what I mean? Or they want to put the chip in us for entertainment purposes, is that going to be a modification to the body? I mean, is the medicines coming out that are going to be considered medicines because they make adjustments in your DNA, right? Because they modify your DNA? Is that going to make you now, is that going to also void your warranty on your body for medical services? So is that going to create a whole new market for like cyborg body insurance, medically modified DNA healthcare insurance? I mean, what's coming, right? So, but going back to this here, these lawmakers would rather demonize trans youth than focus on solving real issues. Now, when you say youth to me, how do you define youth? I mean, because I'm not well versed in this debate. What I'm looking at is the etymology of discriminate. Okay, and this entertainment supports that discussion. But my question is, how do you define youth? Because if you're talking under 18 because we're talking schools here, right? So if they can't join the school program because their gender identity is keeping them banned from it, first of all, how come you have to be 18 to sign a contract, but you can still be a youth? I don't know how you define youth, but I'm taking youth as being less than 18. Now, whoever wrote this article need to put that in parentheses. They need to put the age group up there, because if we're talking school, what the fuck? Because you can't sign a contract till you're 18. How can you become a gender identity? I'm just asking these questions. If you have the answers, drop them in the comments below for the people. So the state law exempts some trips, or a state law has exemptions for some trips, such as travel needed to enforce California law and to honor contracts signed before the states were added to the list, right? So ain't no new business for these people. They basically gonna put an embargo. California gonna put an embargo on was it 12 states, 17 altogether, right? How does this hinder in their business? You know what I'm saying? So travel to conferences or out-of-state trainings are examples of trips that can be blocked. So now you can't even go to your out-of-state training if you're a state worker in California because of discrimination, which actually means that you're being discriminated against and can't go to an out-of-state training due to your own discrimination. So it's unclear what effect California's travel ban will have. Banta did not have information about how many state agencies have stopped sending state employees to the states on the list, or a financial impact for California's travel bans on those states. Now, the interesting thing with that is it says state employees. So, matter of fact, let's see what I saw in my notes I got. I had a couple notes for y'all. Let's see what constitutes as a state employee, because if you can't go at all state employees, then that could be a lot more people than you may first think about. So it says here, a state employee means an individual who is employed by an agency in any branch of state government. Okay. Hold on. We're going to hit this. So all state governments are modeled after federal government and consist of three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. But see, then, you know what I mean? So all of that stuff under executive branch of state government, legislative, judicial, right? They all are affected. So the legislative, Congress, you know, I guess if you got a state House of Representatives and all this stuff, Congress, the House of Representatives, the Senate, right? Executive will carry out the law. So that's your mayor, your governor, most federal agencies, so most state agencies. So everybody that's on from, you know, court systems, because you got the courts, you got, you know, I guess the home people, depending on where you, what part of the housing real estate market you're in, you could be affected. You know, you got laws, you got courts, you got schools, right? You got police. So all these people in California are now banned to travel to 17 states. You know, in theory, like, you done worked 20 years and you and your wife was getting ready to go to the Florida Keys on vacation, cancel, because you a state employee. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Let me know what you think about that. Pasha Pyro, YNet7. Take a real good moment and look at the reverse discrimination. Let's get back to that real quick, right? Because that's what I'm focused on. I don't care about the variables, but look at this. The dominant or majority group. Remember, the majority is those that have the, you know, competent to handle their own affairs. So one, you got to know who you are, right? So basically, all these groups here are they different? Are they saying that these groups are different ways of people not knowing who they are? So they've been members of minorities or historically disadvantaged groups because the dominant or majority group is American? Is that what's going on here? So reverse discrimination, is that how you dismantle a nation? Pasha Pyro, YNet7. Thank you for tuning. The replay.